Hi there, I'm Dan Rinkus and welcome to AIU Perspectives, where we're dedicating an entire episode to accessibility in education. While a lot of folks have no problem seeing or hearing me right now, some people can't see the full spectrum of color. Some people simply can't see very well. And some people are deaf or hard of hearing. And that has implications for every student, educator, and co-host.
I think accessibility is important as a human right.
In this episode, we dive into accessibility in education.
I know that the work that I'm doing, whether it's accessibility or general, is improving the lives of students everywhere.
We introduce you to the change makers on the front lines of this process, how they train colleagues, tweak tools, and track down information to make the AIU accessible.
I'm Melissa Myers, and coming up, I'll introduce you to the people who work with students who are visually impaired or hearing impaired.
It's freedom, right? Accessibility is what kids need so that they can be free to be part of everything.
How these educators help students develop their skills so that they can receive a complete education.
Let's start with defining the issue. What is accessibility? Well, it's the practice of making devices, services, or environments for people who have disabilities. A disability is a physical or mental condition that limits a person's movements, senses, or activities. Disabilities can range from mild, like myastigmatism, to more serious deficits in vision, hearing, and other areas. Many disabilities are recognized by federal law, specifically the Americans with Disabilities Act, and in April of 2026, the AIU faces the deadline. Yeah, well, we did face a deadline for website and social media accessibility on April 24th, but a week before the deadline, the Federal Department of Justice delayed it by a whole year. What can you do? But you know what? Let's start there. WCAG 2.1AA. It is not a seemingly random collection of letters and numbers. It stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, version 2.1, level AA. It's the middle level of web accessibility in between single A and AAA, the most intensive.
If you have a document or an application, there are a lot of points that you're supposed to go through.
That's Craig Sinning, Systems Administrator for Waterfront Learning.
And he's right. There are 78 success criteria under the Web Accessibility Guidelines that we face, and federal law requires that we comply with every single one.
Public entities that serve a population of more than 50,000 people, that's the AIU and some larger school districts, now have until April 26, 2027 to comply thanks to an interim final rule just published by the DOJ. Public entities with a population under 50,000 have an additional year to comply. Okay, let's get back to Craig.
I am trying to make sure that as much as possible, all of our systems are set and meeting new standards to be able to serve all kinds of learners.
Craig's role with Waterfront Learning means he has a front row seat to the importance of accessibility. Back in episode 2 of this season, we introduced you to Waterfront, showing how they deliver online learning to Allegheny County and beyond.
I came across the requirement for the new Web Content Accessibility Guideline standards about a year and a half ago at a conference. And one of the things that jumped to my mind was Waterfront Learning's student information system.
It was clear the system, provided by a third party, didn't meet the Web Accessibility Guidelines, so Craig got to work.
First, this was news to them. They were surprised by this. They said, well, you're the only one talking to us about this. So I rallied some colleagues across the state, and my one request to get this done rapidly turned into a half dozen requests to get this done.
He and his colleagues worked with the system's developers to update that interface, but that was just one piece of a very large puzzle that's still being put together. Craig is also a member of the AIU's Accessibility Committee, a group that meets regularly to make sure AIU systems meet the accessibility guidelines.
That's a big job at a place like the IU because there are so many systems to look at. I am on a subcommittee and we are focused on exactly that, identifying systems and identifying whether or not they are going to be compliant with the new standards.
Craig put his ambition and work ethic to good use, researching systems and working with other departments, including technology services, to figure out what needed to be updated.
And ended up somewhere in the area of like 300 applications that the IU is using, that needed to be evaluated for this. The actual details of it pile up fast.
Committee members made phone calls, put out surveys, and did the hard work to find and evaluate software and hardware through the lens of accessibility. For Craig and his colleagues, it's worth the effort.
It's not like I'm in a classroom in front of students, but I know that the work that I'm doing, whether it's accessibility or general, is improving the lives of students everywhere.
And while this year's deadline may have been pushed back, it doesn't reduce the amount of vigilance that educators will need to ensure accessibility for all.
getting that done is it's worth the effort that it takes. It's a lot of effort, but it's worth it. It's making things better for everyone.
Accessibility in a learning environment means every student has the tools and resources they need to succeed. At the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, that commitment is on full display for students who are blind, visually impaired, deaf, or hard of hearing.
It's freedom, right? Accessibility is what kids need so that they can be free to be part of everything.
Patty DeCenzo, the Accessible Instructional Materials Coordinator for the Blind and Visually Impaired program, says access goes beyond just having the right resources. It's having those specialized programs provided by the AIU that are designed to meet the unique needs of each learner.
Creating that accessible environment, but then teaching our students how to access and how to use that accessibility piece, then they then have the freedom to be just like their sighted peers.
But the impact of this work extends beyond the walls of the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. Janine Esch, Program Director of Hearing, Vision, and Communication Access, explains that the AIU plays a critical role in supporting school districts across the region.
Many school districts do not have their own teachers of the deaf, teachers of the visually impaired, orientation and mobility specialists, educational interpreters. So that is something the AIU provides.
For students who are deaf or hard of hearing, support focuses on communication, literacy, and self-advocacy, with staff using technology and tailored instruction to support learning. Esch says her passion for this work is rooted in her commitment to education.
I've just always been drawn to education, and especially students who have unique needs. Accessibility in real time is learning, is access to the world around. I mean, day in and day out, if there's any barriers to access, removing those lets learning, loving, living in real time.
Beyond the classroom, accessibility continues through many organized events, including an accessible book fair designed specifically for young learners.
I have been in the AIU since I was in pre-K and been involved with them, and I really wanted to bring more early literacy books to children with visual impairments and further let their parents have more knowledge on this.
Lily Hughes, an 11th grade student from Shaler who is visually impaired, hosted the event with an effort to give students the opportunity to explore books in formats that work for them. This while also creating a sense of connection with peers who share similar experiences.
Growing up, I didn't really have all of this. So seeing the more things that are just coming out, I wanted to be able to share it with more people.
Deborah Hoffmeister, a teacher of the visually impaired and orientation and mobility specialist, says access to literacy is critical and providing the right tools helps open the door to learning and exploration.
A student who has a visual impairment or is blind is not going to be able to participate if they do not have access. The student would not be able to learn.
Hoffmeister says the goal is equity and opportunity for every learner.
We want to see those students be successful. We want to see them do what every other child does and have the same opportunities that every other child does.
You're so into getting a connection of, yeah, oh my gosh, Mr. Doherty, look, this is beautiful.
For Scott Doherty, his view of accessibility is simple, yet expansive.
I think accessibility is important as a human right.
Scott is an IDEA training and consultation coordinator at the AIU who focuses on assistive technologies and inclusive practices. That means making education accessible for all learners is right up his alley.
The fact that some people can't do that by the nature of their disability isn't a reason for us not to find ways to make that happen.
Scott has been with the AIU on and off for 25 years and has been involved in accessibility and education longer than that, all the way back to his days at the Western Pennsylvania School for the Deaf. His interests and experiences inform his holistic view of accessibility.
They say if you're upright and above ground, you have the same rights as everybody else, and this job's just a perfect opportunity to make that happen and help our school teams in particular figure out how to do that for the students that we serve.
IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Approved by Congress in the 1970s, it ensures education for children who have disabilities, including those with IEPs, Individualized Education Plans, and 504 service agreements. According to federal statistics, a record 7.5 million students ages 3 to 21 receive services under IDEA. That's 15% of all public school students nationwide.
Assistive technology is one of those things that the IDEA law says teams have to consider. Every time they meet to discuss a student's education plan, they have to talk about is assistive technology needed in this case.
Assistive technology isn't just high-tech equipment.
Most people think of the high-end computer stuff in AI, but it also includes things like foam grips for pencils. So it's a no-tech to very, very, very high-tech span of equipment and solutions that we work with.
As the AIU's accessibility deadline was coming into focus, Scott, like his colleagues, knew the agency would have to prepare.
So fired off some emails, made some calls, and said there's a deadline coming in a few years that we really need to know about and start acting on now.
He, too, is part of the AIU's Accessibility Committee. His work in assistive technology and his understanding of accessibility in computer systems made him a great candidate to train AIU staff.
It is a lot, but the things that we do and the adjustments we need to make are actually small changes in workflow. And once you get those under your belt, it might take a couple days. Most people have found this actually isn't as hard to do on a daily basis, and it does become just part of their daily practice.
Scott has had an active role in training AIU staff to comply, how to use technology to create accessible documents, presentations, and other files. Whether you're a teacher, an aide, a family development specialist, or a communications specialist.
What we're hoping to do through our trainings and through the supports we're providing to our IU and our IU partners is that people see this is a manageable task, but it's also a necessary task. Not because the government's telling us we have to do it, but because it's the right thing to do.
Scott really shines when he gets to put on his engineer's cap. This spring, he hosted an assistive technology toy-making workshop in Transform Ed.
2 wires, two connections, so we'll tin those 4 parts separately. Well, I'm going to go to Target and pick up some toys and rip them apart and see if we can get them back together in an accessible way.
An idea he brought over from the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, or PATN, Scott developed this workshop as a way to empower educators, even parents.
I teach them how to solder in the morning, and then we start working through build our own physical switch that we then connect to a toy that we adapt by the end of the day.
While he may be showing folks the technical ropes, he also explains how that work can be translated into applications that are even more meaningful.
So I talk about how the wheelchair headrest on a student's power chair can also be used as an input tool for their type and control the mouse.
Scott started in assistive technology back in 2001. In that time, he has seen rapid changes in technology, changes he wishes would have come sooner.
One of the first students I worked with had an injury on a football field. Wanted to be a journalist, and when he came back to school and I met him for the first time, he was like, "Mr. Doherty, how am I ever going to write when I can't control anything below my chin?"
At the time, Scott found the right tools and did the best he could for that student. Still, looking back from 2026 gives him pause.
I think about that student often because today we have technologies that what we use every day, our phones, have the capability for us to do those kinds of things.
Those experiences motivate Scott and give him purpose, making sure every learner he works with can succeed.
Tools are often out there, that there are people who can help you figure out those tools, but we really need to seize on the technologies and the opportunities we have today because there is hope. Stranded ones and these, if you've got twisted pair, these are old Cat 5 cables.
Just catching up on the most recent edition of AIU Connections, our in-house magazine. There'll be a new edition in the fall, and that's when you'll see a new season of AIU Perspectives, Season 4. In the meantime, thanks for watching Season 3 and this accessibility special. Don't forget to watch, like, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.